gracious hosts, unique lodging, and tasty cuisine. New Mexico bed and breakfasts are New Mexico true. Our innkeepers are as special as New Mexico, and we're sharing their stories. Read about them and plan your trip at nmbba.org. Hey, everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio, second Thursday New Mexico show, where we talk about travel, food, events, lodgings, and more with innkeepers who all belong to the New Mexico Bed and Breakfast Association. So I encourage you to go to their website to plan your trip to New Mexico, because these innkeepers really know about their region. They know where to play, what to see, what to do, where to eat, and that's a focus today. So the website is NM for New Mexico, BBA for Bed and Breakfast Association. So nmbba.org. And of course, keep up with us every second Thursday where we have these great conversations. Today's conversation, we're going to get a taste of Albuquerque. Nancy and I were in Albuquerque last year, and we had some of the best food, very traditional New Mexico food. But at the same time, we got to have food from Peru. We had local wine. You would not believe what comes out of Albuquerque, and that it's also an agricultural community. So today we've got Steve Hiatt back on the show. He and his wife Kathy own and run Bottger-Mansion right in the heart of Old Town Albuquerque. In fact, right off of Route 66. And right from their B&B, you could just walk down the street and go to restaurants. It's pretty cool. So go check out their website, Bottger. It's BOTDGER.com. So welcome back, Steve. How are you?
I'm fine. And you?
Oh, doing good, doing good. Nancy and I are going. How are the blue corn pancakes going?
They're
Are you
fine.
still serving them?
Absolutely. We've developed some new recipes since you were last here. We can talk about them as well.
Cool. And so the blue corn, that is something, it's cornmeal, right? Not just
Right.
it's cornmeal.
It's cornmeal made out of blue corn.
And that's
Dehydrated.
really New Mexico. That's a New Mexico.
Very much so in southwestern cuisine.
Okay. So you're in the heart of Old Town, and then you're near a lot of the attractions, and like the aquarium and the botanical garden, the Old Town, the plaza itself. But now we've got our next guest too. Darlene and her family own and run a Red Horse bed and breakfast. So it's the Capshaw family. And I encourage you to go to their website, redhorsebnb.com, because she really, what they're doing over there is representing heritage farming and art. By the way, there's ceramics. You can get your hands into making some things over there. So it's really cool, but you're a little bit further out from where Steve is, right, Darlene? And welcome.
Hi, thank you. Yes, we are. We're down in the South Valley, which is still the agricultural part of Albuquerque. There are many farms here.
When guests come, are they kind of surprised to see agriculture happening in your area?
They are, because we're about 4 miles west of the airport as the crow flies. And so they're a little bit surprised but it's along the Rio Grande Valley River. And so it's very agricultural, very fertile. And there are many places down in our area that do have local farms. So we get to utilize that food as well.
Oh, that's cool. So basically you're like a farm stay though, because people are staying, is it an old farmhouse, right?
It is. It's an old historic Teroni adobe home here in New Mexico. That's pretty common from back historic time. And so the bricks are made out of adobe, the mud. And then around us is all of our farmland. And so we have our gardens, our orchards, our vineyards, and we utilize all of that in the breakfast and in the dinners.
Oh, wow. Wow. How many acres do you have?
Altogether about 10.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And so you've got a vineyard too, we need to bring up, because I thought we were going to come have wine with you.
It is. My father's going to be 90 this year, and it is his hobby. And so he has his
See, that's why he's 90. He's going to keep going. Yeah. It's a good hobby.
It is. And it's 5 generations that have worked here on it. In fact, wow. We just won an award for the multi-generational family here in New Mexico, which is exciting. We get that award in August. So my grandson planted this year. My dad was out there working with us, and we bring all of that into what we make at the B&B.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing. It's really interesting to see what you're doing. And I want to come see your land next time we come through, because I'm thinking, Steve, with Bottger-Mansion, it's showing two ways of living,
Mhm.
in Albuquerque, and preserving that style of history too. Steve, yours was like a personal mansion. It started out, right? And then went through,
Right.
and then
Right.
Elvis and Janis Joplin came by, and
Yeah.
apparently they had a lot of parties.
There you go. Yeah, it was built in 1912
Yeah.
by Charles Bottger. He had actually struck it rich in the Manzanos and discovered a silver mine. And he used the money from that mine to build this house.
Wow. Wow. And then you're right by the plaza too. So you want
Yeah.
to, it would be so cool to go back and into that time frame and see what it was like. Darlene, when was the farm started?
Well, historically, it was handed down to us that the gentleman homesteaded about 1870, but he didn't start building that adobe home. He had a smaller home he lived in, and he started the large home in 1922. It took him 10 years to build it because he
Wow.
used the adobe bricks out of the pasture. And so it's that turn of the century that we focus on. And one of our rooms we call the Old West, and it's filled with the shops and the lariat and a lot of the paintings and the things that were left on the property from that time
Oh, wow.
period. Yeah, it has like an old clawfoot tub, and we really focus on that turn of the century because that's when the house was started.
And then the farm was always there, like, back in the
That was actually
1800s.
much, yeah, sorry, it was much larger at that time. He had garlic fields, apple orchards, and cattle. There was a dairy on the property as well, and we found in the paper that that burned down about 1938. And so there's some information from that time period, but a lot of it was just handed down to us. And so we just try to keep it preserved and keep it going. And that's why we started the B&B actually,
Mm,
was because we wanted to preserve the farm and not have it turn into apartments or subdivisions. It's the heritage, the rural
mhm.
heritage we try to keep.
And you're
So,
interpreting it too, and providing that connection of what farm life, small farming too, right? Which is
oh,
a whole
definitely we're
different.
urban farm. Yeah. So we have our animals and guests come and see that and they like that. It's just that it's the experience. They'll go out and they'll pick apricots with us and they'll stomp on the grapes if we're doing the grapes. They'll feed the rabbits. They're part of the experience. Or like
Mm.
you said, making the ceramics. It's very much a participatory style B&B in that sense. And many of our guests are locals.
Oh,
The
wow.
quite a large percentage of our guests are locals because around us we're in this very lush green river valley, and we're in the county. We're still Albuquerque, but we're county, and so people come down here and they feel like they went somewhere else sometimes because
Mm,
it's so green compared to the West Mesa that's very brown and dirt.
wow.
So
So you're growing apricots, so you've got stone fruit. So you've got obviously the grapes for wine, right? You're gonna have
yeah,
chickens. I saw something about farm fresh eggs for
yeah.
breakfast,
Mhm.
So what else are you growing there?
Well, it's nice when in the morning I can just walk past the orchard and grab some fresh peaches, for example, and serve them for breakfast. We have the apples,
Wow.
the apricots, the plums, cherries, figs, uh,
Wow.
mulberries, currants. We pretty much most of what we
Wow.
need we have here, right? We make our own breads, and so and my daughter does that for me. So that's how I grew up. Basically, it's that simplified life that I grew up with that we enjoy bringing forward.
Mm.
And if it's the concentric circles. If we have it on the farm and we can make it or grow it, we do serve that first. If we don't, we look to our neighbors. And if we don't have there, then we look at the farmers markets. And if not that, then we support the small businesses around us.
That is amazing. And it's
That's what we
amazing to
try
hear
to do.
how diverse, because I know you've got lavender farms out here too.
Yeah.
So all kinds growing out there. And Steve, you even have the certified national wildlife habitat. So you have like the
That's
garden
true.
for the birds. So you're in the city, but you've
Yeah.
got the whole
Yeah,
that kind of nature going on as well. So gardening, but you've got herbs in there out there, as
we
I
do.
recall.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. We're not so fortunate to have a farm.
Let me
But,
tell you, farms
but
are
that's
hard work.
okay. But that's
They
okay.
are.
They are hard work, and B and
But
Bs are really
we
hard
do.
work too.
Yeah. Well, we do. We try to support local growers and local markets and things as
Yeah.
much as we can as well.
Mhm.
It's just what we do as B and Bs.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So
Agreed.
that's the thing too, when you talk about farms, right? Do you have, people doing honey and things, those kind of things in Albuquerque too?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And so you keep
Mhm.
talking about like the farmers markets. Is that something that you have year round, or is it a seasonal thing?
It's seasonal. They
Mhm.
run, what, April? They
They
start
start in
up around
April.
April and they end around October.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess the last ones are in October. And but the majority of the produce is what, mid-May to end of September.
Mhm. Yeah, because you do get a little chilly, sometimes a
We do.
little snowy.
Well, we do. It does.
Mm, mm,
And it does get cold.
Mhm.
But I have to say, the produce that's produced in the Middle Rio Grande Valley is really good.
Mhm.
Some
mm.
amazing apples, peaches, apricots when we get them.
What about nuts? Do you get the nuts too? Because I know down in southern New
Yes,
Mexico, it's
pistachios.
pecans. Oh,
Yeah,
pistachios.
pistachios and pecans. Yeah. In
I
fact,
heard that you don't say pecans.
no, pecans.
You need to have some class, apparently. It's a little classier to say pecans. Than-
Actually, Georgia and New Mexico trade places as being the top pecan producers in the country.
Really?
Yes.
Had no idea about that. And
And-
so well, that's the thing, Albuquerque is so central. And so I think it's kind of a neat place for, folks to go. It's very accessible off of I-40, right?
Right.
Stop and then really kind of get a taste of New Mexico. And then of course you want to go as local as possible, but also the restaurants. So let's touch on what people can taste in Albuquerque that would say this is authentic New Mexico, and especially Albuquerque, whether it's at your kitchen. So let's start with one dish in your kitchen that you serve, and then one place you would send them out for, or something that they need to experience. Let's start with you, Darlene, on that. What is authentic New Mexico for breakfast?
Well, when I think of authentic New Mexico, I was born here, so I'm authentic New Mexico.
Right on.
Heritage, of course, is Swedish and German. I
Mm.
always, like many of the B&Bs, will always include the green chili and local salsas and things like that on breakfast table. For me, I stick more with our heritage recipes that are handed down in our family. But as far as New Mexican foods, there's just a strata, like a little crustless quiche that I make, and I'll put the green chili in it, and I use the blue corn as well, from Valencia blue corn down south of us, and I'll use pecans from my sister's trees, and so we'll use a lot of the local foods in that way. That
Mm.
to me, New Mexican food isn't always just hot. It's not always just hot chili, and even though that's an integral part of a lot of the recipes, for me, it's also just the local foods around us
Mm.
that make
See,
it New Mexican. So
that's what I think is so great, because you do have this diversity, and that's where the chili and the peach go hand in hand, that get all those flavors in. And I do want to tell everyone, coming up for our next issue of Eat, Drink, Be Merry magazine, watch out for Darlene's zucchini bread, right? Is that your daughter's recipe?
yeah, when she was 10 years old, she won a blue ribbon at the 4-H fair. She took that recipe, it was my aunt's, and she changed it to make it healthier and won a ribbon for that. So yeah.
Uh-oh, did she take the butter out?
No, no, she took some of the sugar out and changed some of the oils and things like that. So
Oh,
it's
okay,
good.
cool.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
good. But we find that a lot of our guests eat so much green chili, they go out for lunch and go out for dinner. And so a lot of times at breakfast time, they're kind of happy to have something that's not hot.
Exactly, a little break
Have
from
the
it.
option, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Some people don't want the heat at all, too. Then, that's a really good point. Like, Nancy and I travel full time, and we were just up in Washington State last time I spoke with you, Steve. I think we were in Washington State. I don't know. I can't keep track. But, everybody's emailing going, oh, it's Dungeness crab season. You need to get this and do that. And I'm like, we're so allergic to seafood and fish. It's like, it's not happening. But
Yeah.
there's this whole other bounty to enjoy there. And that's the same thing. I think that's a really good point that people need to understand about going to New Mexico. You don't have to be into hot food. There's a lot of other things. I mean, you can get sweeter margaritas too if you want.
Yeah, you can.
And in Albuquerque, like Steve was saying, we have such a diverse, amazing culinary group of people and different businesses. And you can have African food and Cuban food and of course Asian foods. And there's so many different delicious foods. And then we seem to draw a lot of guests who have food sensitivities and
Sure.
allergies, and even some celiac guests.
Mhm.
Quite a few of them. And I don't, maybe because we do the farm to table type foods already, but so we recommend a lot of those type of restaurants to them.
So Steve, for you, I mean, when you're thinking about you being in the old town, and you guys really aren't that far away from each other,
About
I
4
don't,
minutes.
yeah, I mean, that's nothing, but it's two different experiences, right?
It's two different worlds.
Yeah, I mean, and you've got the blue corn pancakes we talked about, and a lot of different dishes that you serve. That's New Mexico, and there's cookies and all kinds of treats when you arrive. It's really quite lovely. Well, we went to Old Town. We had, Mexican food, which is always the thing that you think of, right? But we went to the sawmill, and I thought this is one of the coolest places we've been to when it comes to food, because there were all kinds of small businesses and purveyors. There was a place where you could buy beer, but it was all New Mexico beer. There was like the Peruvian restaurant that just did these amazing little empanadas. Oh my God, can I go back? So
Yeah.
it was like, and then I saw fresh flowers. It seemed like it was so artisan.
Mhm.
That is that a place that a lot of guests go to for you, since it's
Yeah,
not
it's
far
so-
from you?
yeah, it's not. It's about a 10-minute walk. The Sawmill Market, and
Wow.
it's about 15, 18 different entrepreneurs showing off their wares. There's Japanese ice cream, for instance, pizza,
Ooh.
some amazing beef that you can buy, or they have hamburgers and stuff as well, and New Mexican and Asian. So it is a really good place to go if you're looking for variety amongst your party.
Mm.
But within just a little bit of the Bottger in Old Town, I mean, there's restaurants that are experimenting or just pushing the boundaries, just like they do in other large cities or Santa Fe. Compost is at Los Poblanos is doing amazing dinners and amazing food. Vinaigrette just by us for vegetarian. Then
Wow.
the Artichoke Cafe, Scholars. We can just go on and on about all the great food and chefs that are winning James Beard Awards and other awards are right here in Albuquerque.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
This-
it is. Mhm.
I think that to me, it's so diverse, culturally diverse. And I think that's what really helps the food scene is
It does.
cultural diversity. I say, everybody stop whatever this, non-acceptance, that means you're going to cut off your food supply.
And,
Cultural diversity makes for good food,
yeah, and one other thing, and we've got this amazing restaurant up at 10,500 feet at the tram, brand new building. They're doing interesting things, and the view is to die for. It's called 10-3. And if you're coming to Albuquerque and you want to experience fine dining at over 10,000 feet, you can take the tram up and enjoy it.
Oh,
up
wow.
there. But the views are amazing.
Oh, wow.
So
We haven't done the tram yet. So is that something you do
You
in the
haven't?
summer? No.
They do it year round.
Oh, wow. So even when it's snowing, you could be up in the tram and sing.
There is no bad time to take the tram up.
I
Even if
want to
it's
go on the tram.
even if it's a whiteout, it's not a bad time because it's magical.
Oh my gosh, how cool. That is awesome. Darlene, do you have specific restaurants near you? Oh,
We
we lost her. Oh,
I don't know.
I love her face.
she's rolling her eyes at us right now. There, she's back. She's back. She's back.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here.
There's some
So
editing on this one.
Yeah, but listen, you're in monsoon season, so you're recording right at the time, and we're having a big storm here too. So we could all blow up, but let's not do that.
no,
We don't want it with no lightning bolts. I've behaved all week, so there should be no lightning bolts. But yeah, talk a little bit about the restaurants near you.
we do, and we send them to two of them near us that are both family owned, Abuelitas and Albuquerque city limits. They are both
Hmm,
just like one I went to school, high school with. They're
Mhm.
very good New Mexican food, and that's important to let people know too, is the difference that we are New Mexican food, not necessarily Mexican food.
Right.
You have the influence and the blend of the Indian foods, the fry breads, the blue corn, which is native to here. And so a lot of people come and say, oh, I need some Mexican food. And then they're going, oh, that was so different, but they loved it. And because it's not the same as Tex-Mex, it's not the same as what you get in Arizona. It's just you leave New Mexico's borders and you get different food.
Hmm.
So that's really important to note. But we do have down here in the South Valley along Isleta, there are many Mexican restaurants, and they'll have seafood and a lot of things that are more like the food you would find in Mexico versus New Mexico. But
Okay.
the food really changes when you come up into New Mexico, and I'm sure Steve can add to that too. It's just it's so unique and it's so delicious.
And the
that-
New Mexico, I mean, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, the thing is that it's an influence. Green chili and red chili influence so much of our cuisine. It's hard to go into any restaurant and not have something that is influenced by green or red chilies. And that doesn't mean they're hot, because green chili and red chili can be so mild that you're not even realizing you're eating green chili, but you
Right.
still get all that flavor. So it's just such a part of the culture, period, as well as our cuisine. So it's like what we try to do is just use those influences. I mean, I don't serve huevos rancheros, for instance, or breakfast burritos, because you can get those anywhere.
Same
Right.
here.
Right, exactly. So what we're trying to do is look at how we can introduce people to, or our guests to these wonderful flavors in ways they're not expecting them. So hence the quiches, the souffles, and other ways, the sauces. Sometimes it's in the sauces where the chilies are. We do a raspberry prickly pear ancho sauce for a cheese souffle, for instance. So
Ooh.
there's all this stuff going on.
Ooh, I see. I love that sweet and spice together. Like seriously.
Exactly. So it's more of a like I said, you can go to Duran's Central Pharmacy, right? I like Albuquerque city limits, by the way.
Yeah, I
They
did.
are good. But Duran's Central Pharmacy is one of the best in town. They're right here, and they do a really hand rolled or handmade flour tortillas to order. I mean, they're always hot. The red chili is great. So there is that, but there's also this other. There are other people trying to interpret new way and show new ways of using the chilies.
Well, also when you go to Mexico culture, right? It also depends on where the Mexican families came from, where the taste is. I lived in California and Arizona, and the further east you went in Arizona and north, the cuisine changed. You weren't so Baja California, it's like, no, you do not put sour cream on your tacos. There'll be none. And you do not put sour cream in your guacamole. But anyway, it's all, everyone's different. But it's different. And you start getting into just different flavors, and traveling, it's great because you see it always goes down to the roots of the family, taking these recipes like you were talking about, Darlene, these family recipes, and it's going to change up according to what's going on in the world, what's going on in health, like you were saying, nature, what's going on, what's growing, what's not. You can't things have changed over time, and what's available in season. So it's to me, it's exciting when you go to a place like Albuquerque and be able to have something from almost anywhere in the world. Is this because of the railroad that everybody can, what happened? Like, how did you get so many different cultures in Albuquerque? Got a lot of people because you've got the German side, right?
Yeah,
For you.
I do think a lot of it was when the railroad came in, because the gentleman who built our house, he was here laying the railroad. He helped build the roundhouse down in Berlin, south of us. So I do think that did have a big
Wow.
impact on it, brought in a large number of people from different, that were back east, all came out west. And so they're
And
really,
then rich miners like, Mr.
Yeah.
Bottger.
yeah,
Well, yeah, but I think Darlene is right about the railroad. A lot of people don't realize that Albuquerque had the largest rail yards west of the Mississippi.
mhm,
The engineering building that's here is still standing. It's an excellent example of an Art Deco industrial design. It was the first building using glass and metal as the primary building construction materials. And that building could completely rebuild 29 engines at the same time. It's huge. And when you start thinking about the number of people that had to come into Albuquerque to support just that activity, and all the different ethnic differences and cultures that were represented there, that's exactly how they all
Yeah.
got.
And also then you're getting into Asian culture because they really the
Mhm.
Asian culture really helped develop the railroads and built them. And so that is, I mean, even in Arizona, and some people they kind of don't want to talk about it, but I'm like, dude, we should be honoring them because the railroads changed everything in this country. But going before the railroad, isn't your property on the El Camino Real?
it is. So right out front of us on Isleta, that is the only place that you have the Camino Real, as
Mhm.
well as the pre-1937
Right.
Route 66. It's
Mhm.
the
Oh,
same
wow. So
route.
you're connected by Route 66, the two
Right.
of you.
At that point, it went
that-
Yeah.
down there. And we watched a very interesting documentary about New Mexico done by our state historian. And in it, one thing I didn't know was how much clear back in the 1600s, in that era, that the French really influenced New Mexico. And a lot of the Hispanic surnames
Oh.
like Archibek and things like that, how many of them are French root. So it was, I don't know, it's just really fascinating. New Mexico hasn't always just been one little tiny box.
No.
There have been a lot of people influencing it throughout centuries.
A lot of Spaniards too. We got to, because you're the flamenco capital, aren't you?
Yeah.
Albuquerque?
Mhm.
I'm not sure of the flamenco capital.
Well,
Well,
We
I'm
do
making-
have
no.
the International Flamenco Institute.
yes.
Oh, come on. You're the capital of the Southwest for
But
flamenco.
definitely the United
I'm
States.
handing out awards today. I can't. I'm making whatever I want in the capital. But, going back to Route 66,
Mhm.
I've got to ask, because you do see this resurgence and, of that
Yeah.
kind of travel. People want that. And I think people really want the authentic experience. So that's what's so great about bed and breakfast. But is there a place we can go get a proper diner like meal? Because if you're going to be on Route 66, you need a diner.
Yeah,
So
there are.
I want a milkshake, a real one,
Yeah.
not fake.
I guess it would be the Route 66 diner, right, Darlene?
Yeah.
I mean, right, it's right there in the middle of Albuquerque.
It
How
is.
did we miss that? We just didn't stay long enough. That's really the truth.
That's probably what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do hamburgers, and they do pretty decent pies. They do great milkshakes. So yeah,
Fried
it's
okra.
it's an Art Deco building, and they've got it decorated in Route 66 decor. Yeah.
Now, where would you go? Because when you think about, I remember the first time we ate in New Mexico, I think it was Silver City.
Mm.
And I think the first thing I had was a roast beef sandwich with green chilies. And I thought, this is like one of the best sandwiches I've ever had. It was fresh baked bread and it wasn't those hot chilies. It was just that nice balance. So is beef part of it? Because I always thought cattle ranching was part of your backbone too. So is there a good place to get like, I know I don't eat a ton of meat, but like, I know people who were like, I want my beef. So where would you go for beef in Albuquerque? Like a good steak or, you know,
Steve, do you have a?
Oh, okay, sure. Well, Antiquity
Oh,
right
yeah.
here in Old Town is really good. It's just like 3-minute walk from us. High Noon is also an Old Town. I Where else, Darlene?
Well, I tell you, one of the most unique places to go for a steak. I'm not sure if you've been there. It's there on Central, the Monte Carlo
Oh, Monte
Steakhouse.
Carlo. Yeah, I always forget
Yeah,
about
so
that.
it's so
Yes,
unique. I mean,
it is. It is.
it's the old 1950s is what it is.
Yeah.
oh,
Has
cool,
little vinyl booths inside, low ceiling. Looks like it used to be
cool.
a smoky joint, but it's not anymore. It's in the
Might have
back
been
of
a
the liquor
speakeasy at one
store.
point.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's
Yeah.
literally used to have to go through the liquor store to get to it, but now you don't.
no way. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? That is
Used to, not
And
cool.
anymore. Not
a
anymore.
lot of movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
many movies it's
That's
been
right.
in. So
Mhm.
when we have someone that just wants something really kind of quirky, unique, and they don't want just a chain steakhouse and they didn't want the real high fine dining. They just wanted
Right.
an interesting meal. So we've sent them there and it's a unique place to go.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh man, see a little bit of everything there. I dig this. Now, I do want to close with this is romance because a lot of times people, go to a bed and breakfast for honeymoons, for birthdays, or that little romantic. Maybe it's the first getaway. Don't tell your parents kind of thing, or it could be anniversary, but romance. And I was even reading on your website, Steve, today about romantic Albuquerque, and I was thinking like that's pretty romantic. If you're going to propose to someone, take them up on the tram and just
A
say,
lot of
if you
people
don't
do.
say yes, down you go. No, I'm kidding.
Well, actually, so many people actually propose and get married on hot air balloons.
Oh, I bet. Oh, yeah, because you also have the hot air
Absolutely.
balloon museum. So can
Mhm.
you go? You can do the hot air balloon experience aside from the big festival that's every October.
Every day of the year,
Mhm.
See,
weather permitting.
okay, every day of the year. And by the way, they're the capital of that too. Hot air balloon.
For
Okay,
real.
we are, yes.
Okay, that's it. I'll get my
Make that
capital.
one up, right?
I know, but hey, listen, you could be the capital of the green chili. That sounds good to me.
Uh,
If you want it, get it. But so yeah, I mean, romance has got to be a big, yeah, the hot air balloon. Do they have like the champagne brunch thing
Yeah.
or is that, yeah.
When
Ooh,
you land, you have some, yes.
yeah, you don't take it up with you. That's not a good idea. You might drop your glass on somebody and that wouldn't be good. So yeah, any place other than where we've talked about that you would say would be a nice romantic, even for picnics. That's the other thing, by the way, you have awesome parks.
Mhm.
Obviously, you want to go at the right time of weather. But even Tingley Beach, not far from you, Steve,
Mhm.
is awesome. You've
Yeah.
got some nice natural spaces to go take a nice picnic, get a local bottle of wine because you've got all those wineries around you,
Mhm. Yeah.
and get some of the local food you were talking about and go
Mhm.
take a picnic, go to Petroglyph National Monument. We love that out
Did
there.
you?
You know what? We've got a recent story from travel writer Eva Eldridge up there, and I'm like, good, good. Got the interview we did when we were at Bottger-Mansion, about it. And she was like, I was like, you've got to go here. She goes, oh, I don't want to have to drive so far out. I'm at this conference. And I'm like, you're not going to drive that far. And then she goes, what is this doing in the middle of a city? Like really in suburbia, here are these ancient petroglyphs.
Right.
And she was totally blown away and loved it and was so glad she went. But there's little picnic shelters. And to me, just to sit surrounded by the basalt rock and look at those petroglyphs and have a picnic lunch, just kind of slow down and
Yeah.
really take in that artwork. That is something I know that's not a fancy meal, but for me, that's a thing,
It's fine.
Yeah. So any more romance? Because I know people want that. Any more romantic places?
No, we do quite a few just dinners here that are romantic. Like I said, we have a
Oh,
large number of people coming from just the other side of the mountain and locally, and they have the whole full farm we set it up
Mm.
out on their patio and And so we do a lot of the dinners here, but we're set up to do that. We have the space to do that.
Mm.
And so, but as far as when they need a really fancy one, I agree with Steve, antiquity, but you have to have reservations there. It can get
Or
busy.
Artichoke. There's some amazing restaurants. Really.
Mm. Do either of you do weddings, or do you got to do the rehearsal dinners, right?
We actually have had weddings, and so they're beautiful.
Mhm.
You know, there's just a romance in this in New Mexico and in Albuquerque in general, and in nature. And so some people, want more of the city look and in the buildings, or they'll go to the beautiful churches, the mission style churches we have.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Of course, I mean, that's very beautiful and very, very quintessential New Mexico. But for here, because of our heritage farm approach, we get people who really enjoy just being outside and having the trees and the pasture and
A simple wedding, that's really nice. And do you get the couples, the honeymooners, Steve, or?
We do, and we do elopements as well. Kathy
cool.
officiates. And one of the interesting things about New Mexico is that people like to get married on the plaza.
Yeah.
In any town, but particularly in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. So we have lots of weddings on the plaza, and sometimes they're quite interesting. They're a lot of fun.
Hey, it's unity.
Or if you want real romance during the summer, on like every other Sunday, the tango club will tango on the plaza itself in the gazebo. And it's dark, and they've got, and about once a year they have a live quartet playing. It's just a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that the two of you are on the show today together, because it's two different experiences, 4 miles apart. And that just shows, again, how much Albuquerque has to offer just even on food. And I know the best way to really experience it is to go eat your way around Albuquerque, everybody, and stay at Bottger-Mansion. You can go to Bottger.com and also go to the Red Horse bnb.com. Like I was saying, we've got recipes coming from Steve and Darlene, and you'll see those in the upcoming issue of Eat, Drink, Be Merry magazine. And we'll post them up on blendradioandtv.com. So follow our socials for that. And of course, for the New Mexico Bed and Breakfast Association, go to nmbba.org. We do the show every second Thursday, so stick with us at bigblendradio.com. Thank you both for joining us. It's been a real pleasure.
Always fun.
Gracious hosts, unique lodging, and tasty cuisine. New Mexico Bed and Breakfasts are New Mexico true. Our innkeepers are as special as New Mexico, and we're sharing their stories. Read about them and plan your trip at nmbba.org.